What's going on, guys? Bengal again here, coming back at you with another video. And today, some big moves happened in the NFL. Absolutely massive trades where the 49ers traded up from number 12 to number 3. The Dolphins moved back from number 3 to number 12, and then moved up with the Eagles from 12 to 6. A lot of things happened. Shook up the entire draft order. The 49ers supposedly are moving up for a quarterback. The Dolphins now could get the player they probably would have taken anyway at number 3 overall. And the Eagles are in a very interesting position where they pick up a first rounder next year and then move back 6 spots and can still get a pretty good player that's going to help them for sure. So if you guys are new here, please hit that subscribe button. It would help me out a lot as we push towards 300K. Also, an update on the off-season stream, since I know everyone wants that. If you followed me on Twitter, if you saw my pinned comment yesterday, I believe I have a pinched nerve in my back, so it can become incredibly uncomfortable to sit down for any amount of time. Honestly, it feels like I'm being stabbed in the back sometimes. Hopefully, that doesn't happen while recording this. But it was already going to be a really hectic month with getting videos up with the draft and meeting deadlines for sponsors and things like that. So this video is going to be a sponsored video, trying to get those out. I very much appreciate all the sponsors of the channel. But let's go ahead and hear from one of them. This video is sponsored by NordVPN, the absolute best VPN you can get. If you guys watch my second channel, you know that I play a lot of GeoGuessr over there. But this is like GeoGuessr, but for your IP, as you can go anywhere in the world that you want. If you guys are not familiar with what a VPN is, it's a virtual private network, and it will change where websites think you're coming from. So you can click any different place that you want. As you can see, we just connected to Mexico. Maybe I want to connect to Vietnam. Maybe I'm feeling Vietnam today. But what are the advantages of using a VPN? Well, during the NFL season, I can use NFL Game Pass to watch any game that I want without any blackouts at all. And as you can see now, I've connected to the German version of Netflix, and I can get access to many, many different shows. And it's not just German shows, right? It's shows that are in English that you can understand, but just are not in the US for one reason or another. It's an excellent, completely legal way to access the content that you're looking for. And not only is a VPN important for accessing different types of content you want, it also protects your information. NordVPN also offers double data encryption for increased anonymity, and they also will never log your data. They'll protect your data while traveling so that there's no way while using NordVPN anyone can steal your information and, God forbid, your identity. And if for some reason you don't like it, you get a 30-day money-back guarantee. And get this, for NordVPN's birthday, every purchase of a 2-year plan will get you 1 additional month free and a surprise gift. Go to nordvpn.com/Bengal and use code Bengal. Remember, that's nordvpn.com/Bengal and use code Bengal. Link is in the description. So thank you so much to NordVPN for sponsoring the video, and let's go ahead and get into this new mock draft. First and foremost, I talked about in my previous mock draft that certain players will fall in the draft because of character concerns / injury concerns. We have a new one to add to the list, Caleb Farley, with a back injury. He's going to fall a little bit more. And guys like Penei Sewell, Gregory Rousseau, and Micah Parsons very likely could fall in the draft. Davion Nixon could be another one as well. There was a report that maybe only the Bengals would be considering taking Penei Sewell top 5. So we got to operate based around that information. But with that being said, let's go ahead and start it off. I've already done this, but Zach Wilson is not going to go number 1 overall. Not going to be too crazy. We're sticking it out with Trevor Lawrence, number 1 overall. I think that pick is absolutely locked in the draft. When I did my last mock draft and I had teams taking a quarterback with the top 4 picks, I was called an idiot by much of my comment section. And then the 49ers are helping make that a reality, as I did have a trade in the last one. But I thought the 49ers would move up to 4 and not 3, but here they are at 3. Wanting one of these top 3 guys. Daniel Jeremiah talked about the timing with Trey Lance's pro day, Justin Fields not having his pro day yet, so that the 49ers maybe are moving up for Trey Lance. There's a report out there that maybe they're moving up for Mac Jones. Very interesting things. Could they be smokescreens? We're not really sure yet. The Jets are in a very interesting position in their own right. Do they take Zach Wilson? Do they take a different quarterback? Do they rock with Sam Darnold? Apparently, Corey Davis thought that Sam Darnold was going to be the starter, and that's why he ended up going to the Jets, under the impression that Sam Darnold was going to be the starting quarterback. Do the Jets decide to trade down with the team moving up on draft night? Did they stay where they are? Did they take a quarterback? Did they not take a QB? Really interesting situation. but I still will have them taking a quarterback. I think Zach Wilson is more than worth the pick there as we get to this really interesting pick of maybe where the draft really starts. At number 3 overall, the 49ers maybe have 3 interesting quarterback prospects to choose from in Trey Lance, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones, so they value him up there. I'm going to go ahead and give the San Francisco 49ers Trey Lance. I think what Daniel Jeremiah said with the timing of the trade making a lot of sense, more towards Trey Lance than another option like Justin Fields. It's after his pro day. They're not going to wait for Justin Fields to throw. They already know who their guy is at number 3. It seems like they're going to be happy with either Justin Fields or like Trey Lance, because probably not going to have a shot at Zach Wilson, and definitely not for Trevor Lawrence. So I think Trey Lance is certainly in play for the 49ers, and it's a quarterback that fits their offense really, really well. I am so excited to see a guy like Trey Lance, even Justin Fields as well, work with Kyle Shanahan in that offense. I think it's going to be extremely dynamic for the future. But that brings up the Falcons at number 4 overall. And let me tell you, the Falcons still could take a quarterback. Next year, after 2021, if they cut Matt Ryan, they're going to save $20 million. There is a dead cap penalty associated with cutting Matt Ryan as well, about negative $20 million or so. But the money that you save, the money that you free up, is probably worth it. So if you can draft a quarterback to play under Matt Ryan, learn under him for a year, and then come in at some point, either at the end of the season in blowouts or to start next season, I think that's definitely a good move. And we're going to keep a Georgia kid in Georgia. Justin Fields is headed back to Georgia from Ohio State. Of course, former Georgia Bulldog transfer and high school quarterback in Georgia. He's going to play for the Falcons, and I think that is a really, really good fit. The story kind of writes itself. And then earlier I talked about the potential of the Bengals being the only team in the top 10 that would consider Penei Sewell, reportedly. Well, we're going to go ahead and give the Bengals Penei Sewell. It definitely could still happen. Definitely could still happen. We don't know how the Bengals view their offensive line board. Could be Sewell 1, could be Slater 1, could be even another player. You never really know. But we're going to give the Bengals Penei Sewell. He has the highest upside of any offensive lineman in the class. So we're going to go ahead and pencil him in at number 5 this time around, which brings up the Dolphins at number 6. And they're in an interesting situation where they can just kind of do what they want here. Probably any player they would have wanted to take is still available at number 6 overall. They're completely out of the quarterback sweepstakes. We know that finally, even though I think we should have known that for some time now. Brought in Will Fuller to be kind of that field stretcher, deep threat. But why not upgrade at the position anyway? Let's go Jamar Chase to be that traditional outside number 1 receiver that Devontae Parker was never really able to become. He had a really solid season a year or two ago, 2 years ago now, I guess. But he's never really been that number 1 that they wanted him to become. Jamar Chase could be that number 1. As we get to the Lions at number 7, they're in an interesting position. They could go best player available, and maybe that's Kyle Pitts. But we're going to take an outside guy, and that is the dynamic speed threat of Jalen Waddle. So best player available on the board at a position of need. I think it just makes a ton of sense in the world. Jalen Waddle to the Detroit Lions. As we bring up the Panthers at 8. Really interesting pick here because the top 4 quarterbacks are gone. Mac Jones is still sitting there, but guess what? So is Kyle Pitts. They can keep Teddy Bridgewater around, maybe take a developmental quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round. We're going to go Kyle Pitts here. It's an immediate upgrade at the position. And also, fun time to mention it, Versatile Weapon merch is live. I'll have a picture of it on the screen right now. You guys can go ahead and pick up Versatile Weapon merchandise. Looks great on a hoodie, long sleeve, or even a t-shirt. Link is down in the description. Took a long time to come up with this design, but I think it absolutely looks fine. It's a blueprint type inspired design. I think it looks awesome. As Kyle Pitts, unrelated, goes to the Carolina Panthers at 8, to that team that is blue. And now the Broncos at number 9. I am going to mix it up here. I think bringing in a bunch of different cornerbacks, like Kyle Fuller was a huge one. Obviously brought in Ronald Darby on a 3-year deal. That's the longer-term solution at that position. I don't think the Broncos need to address corner right now. I think based on Juwan James' contract, they could look to go offensive line here with a guy like Rashawn Slater to play right tackle. But we're going to go ahead and give them Mac Jones. He is a quarterback that I think could very easily end up sneaking into the top 10, especially if 4 quarterbacks go within the top 4 to 6 picks. He could definitely end up going at number 8 to the Carolina Panthers. I think that is certainly in play. I really, really do. But the Broncos end up getting him at 9. It's probably an immediate upgrade over Drew Lock. I could say that fairly confidently. And the Broncos are in a position where they want to compete in the AFC West. It's not an easy division. The Chiefs are very, very, very good. The Broncos want to compete. They have weapons on both sides of the ball. Their defense looks very, very solid. They've got an unbelievable secondary. Their receivers should be very good next year with Jerry Jeudy going into year 2, KJ Hamler in year 2, Cortland Sutton coming back healthy. You have Noah Fant as looking to be a top 10 tight end. Albert Okwuegbunam is a fine backup option. Mac Jones, they could just be a quarterback away. So I really do not mind this for the Broncos whatsoever. As we get to the Cowboys at 10, they brought back Jordan Lewis, but I don't think they're done at cornerback. We're going to reunite the Alabama boys in Patrick Surtain and Trayvon Diggs at Bama. And we're going to go back-to-back Bama guys. That's 3 in the top 10 as we get some SEC action going on. We got 5 SEC picks in a row. But the Cowboys just need to upgrade that secondary pretty badly. Lost Chidobe Awuzie, of course, lost Byron Jones a couple years ago now. Anthony Brown could be next to go. Patrick Surtain is a guy that could start right away on the outside, is already going to be better than Trayvon Diggs. I can tell you that for certain. And then Jordan Lewis really isn't like a starting pure boundary anyway. He's a guy that can kind of move around a little bit. But Surtain, I think, is just too good of an option to pass up there. Maybe see J.C. Horn go. I think it's certainly not out of the question that a team could have him as their CB1. But I think Surtain is probably the best and safest corner in the draft. J.C. Horn is so good, though, too. As the Giants are faced with a tough decision at 11. But I think it becomes a little bit easier after you lose Kevin Zeitler. We're going to go over Rashawn Slater here, a guy that can start immediately at right guard if you need him to, right tackle if you need him to, maybe even left tackle over Andrew Thomas. Rashawn Slater is a really, really good player, and the Giants would be fortunate to get a solid offensive lineman like him at number 11 overall. Could be a top 5 player in the draft. Eagles at 12. I think the Eagles did well to trade down here because they're stuck in a really tough position. And it's a good one to be in because do you take J.C. Horn here? Do you take Devontae Smith? Do you take Micah Parsons? Those are 3 very good players on the board, all at positions of need. I think we go Devontae Smith. They traded down from 6, could still get one of the best receivers in the class. Devontae Smith is really, really good. They do pass on J.C. Horn, who is extremely solid, but we're going to go coin flip on that one, and Devontae Smith ends up being the pick. Need a big upgrade at receiver, and Devontae Smith certainly could be that. Chargers at 13. I really don't think this pick is that difficult. I think maybe J.C. Horn's in the conversation, but I like a guy like Christian Darrisaw here to start at left tackle immediately. You have, Trey Pipkins there out of Sioux Falls. I can't even tell you where he was drafted. Maybe 5th or 6th round last year. Not particularly impressive. They also have Filer on the inside. Matt Filer they paid from Pittsburgh. He's not anything spectacular. Christian Darrisaw is an upgrade on the O-line. You could even look to move Pipkins over if you like him. But Darrisaw is an upgrade at a blindside protector spot on the offensive line for Justin Herbert. I think this is a move that has to happen. No trade in this mock draft because we got a new draft order. We're just going to keep it as is. But I think the Vikings could look to trade down. But they also could look to go best player available. And that very well could be Elijah Vera Tucker. Their interior offensive line is fairly poor. And Elijah Vera Tucker is very, very good at left guard. Also, of course, has tackle flexibility. You could play him at left tackle as well. It's not a super, super strong position for the Vikings. I like Brian O'Neill as a tackle, but he doesn't have to be your left tackle. You lost Riley Reif. I think Elijah Vera Tucker gives you the flexibility and the skill set that you'd like on the offensive line. As we get to the Patriots at 15, and this is one that I thought about for a while, trying to think about what the Pats would do. Their offensive line's so good. They went out there. They got 2 great tight ends for the future. They've upgraded at receiver. Their defense is still fairly solid. I think there could be an outside shot at like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah or Micah Parsons here. But I just think that a JOK type player would play the same role that they want Kyle Duggar to play. So I'm not sure it's the best fit. And for that reason, I'm going J.C. Horn. One of the top corners in the draft available at 15, I think is a no-brainer, especially for a team that's been linked to Stephon Gilmore trade rumors, especially if J.C. Jackson is not going to be there long-term. I think getting a true, really, really good corner addition that isn't going to be forced to play right away is a can't-miss opportunity, especially someone that's so adept in man coverage. And for a team like the Patriots, I mean, Patriots fans know, probably a lot of you guys know, this is a team that's heavily reliant on man coverage, and J.C. Horn just fits so well. He's got a lot of dog in him, and that is a CB1 type trait that you love to see. I think he's going to be a really good fit. Someone that really wants to win and didn't really accomplish that at South Carolina, obviously. As we get to the Cardinals at 16. Well, you saw that I had Caleb Farley drop because of his back injury, but he's still arguably the best corner in this draft. The Cardinals need cornerback really badly. I think the value is just too good to pass up. I think for a team like the Cardinals that is in a position where they can win now, and corner is just a super weak position for them, you take a gamble at maybe the best corner in the draft and you say, all right, he's going to be durable. He's going to be fine for us. We're going to roll the dice and gamble on that. He's just too good of a player to pass up. And if the Cardinals can get Caleb Farley, I'm sure they'd be over the moon. He has big-time potential on the outside. Probably about the best athleticism of any corner in the draft. J.C. Horn tested ridiculously well, but Caleb Farley is an unbelievable athlete in his own right. Has even better closing speed than J.C. Horn. And J.C. Horn ran like, 4.39? But Caleb Farley plays even faster on tape, I can assure you. As we get to the Raiders at 17, this is an interesting one for me. But I think what it comes down to is even though Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is a great player and a scheme fit, certainly would fit really well, I think that with a player like Tevin Jenkins on the board that can start immediately at right tackle, clearly Trent Brown experiment did not pay off. You lost Gabe Jackson. You lost Rodney Hudson. Their offensive line is terrible. Colton Miller has come a long way at left tackle. He really has. But Tevin Jenkins to be that right tackle, plug and play right away. I just think he's too good of a player at too big of a positional need for the Raiders to pass up on. As we get to the Dolphins at 18, I still like Micah Parsons for them. Another guy who could fall because of character concerns. I think Brian Flores is going to think he can coach him up and get him in the right headspace. There are reports that he doesn't care too much about football, which I think is a bit of a red flag probably to some teams, but he's a really good player at times, and I think he's going to be a player that fits in really well to Miami's defense and be that Kyle Van Noy replacement. So Micah Parsons is the pick there at number 18 for me to the Miami Dolphins. As we get to the Washington football team at 19, I went back and forth on this for a while, trying to figure out what they might take. Linebacker's not a super strong position, and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is available. They address corner in free agency. They address receiver in free agency, although those positions are not completely done and fine. Their offensive line, though, is just a little bit too weak for me. So I am going to go Sam Cosmi, potentially to start at left tackle immediately. I think they have Jerron Christian there right now, which is not exceptional. I'm not sure they value him internally, but I think Sam Cosmi would be a long-term upgrade for sure. I could also see them maybe look at offensive guard. Brandon Sheriff is playing on the franchise tag. Don't know how long you're going to keep him, but Washington football team is playing like they're ready to compete. They went out, they got big-time free agents. They still have some pretty good picks in this draft, but I think offensive line should be the pick there. Sam Cosmi. We've seen Washington football team go Texas in the first round before with Brian Arakpo. Different head coach for sure, but same Snyder regime, if you want to call it that. As you get the Chicago Bears at number 20. This one is another interesting one because I do want to go offensive line. I think Jalen Mayfield is particularly a really good scheme fit for Chicago, but with Allen Robinson playing on the franchise tag, I think you got to look to replace him. And Rashad Bateman feels like an Allen Robinson type player when you watch him on tape. I just got finished doing a tape study, player evaluation on Rashad Bateman. I like him a lot. No spoiler alert for that top receiver video. That is coming out sometime this week on the channel, hopefully. But Rashad Bateman, for me, is wide receiver number 4. I think he's a perfect fit for Chicago, and he'll be a really good fit with he and Darnell Mooney for the future. Andy Dalton, I think, can be a fine option, honestly, for the Bears with weapons around him. The offensive line is so poor, but if you get a receiving core that consists of Rashad Bateman, Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, and then an emerging Cole Kmet at tight end, you don't really have a lot to complain about there. I know they have Anthony Miller, but he's not as good as Rashad Bateman, and he's not going to play the same role either. I think Bateman is a good pick here, especially if you don't think you're going to keep Allen Robinson long-term, which they might not be able to. They had all year to extend Allen Robinson and didn't do it. and even 2 years. But we get to the Colts at 21, and for me, this has to be offensive line. It absolutely has to be offensive line here with no Anthony Costanzo. Another team that's in a position to win now, and I'm going Jalen Mayfield. We've kind of just gotten down the board here for offensive tackles, but Mayfield's a guy that makes a lot of sense here. They can really just pound the rock with him at left tackle or right tackle. I think there's definitely a chance you move some pieces around, as Mayfield's a guy that played right tackle in college. But there's no reason with his athleticism that he can't come over and play left tackle. It's not an easy transition, but it's one that I think he's capable of making. As you get to the Titans at 22, who after losing Adoree Jackson need cornerback so badly, and I'm going to go ahead and give them Eric Stokes. Ran ridiculously well. His tape's very good as well. He has some times where he doesn't play to that, sub 4.3 speed. I will tell you that for certain. I thought he was more of like a 4.4 guy. But he's a really, really good prospect in my opinion as well. I like him as a top 25 player in the draft quite comfortably. As we get to the Jets at 23, another team that needs corner so terribly. And I think with the Caleb Farley injury and certain teams moving around, well, the Jets are in a great position because they can afford to take one of the best corners in the draft here in Greg Newsome. Greg Newsome is another pretty comfortable top 25 player in the draft for me probably. He's really, really good, and the Jets need corner, especially something on the boundary, so badly. This is a big-time upgrade at the position. I would go as far as to say Greg Newsome is the best boundary corner on the roster right now if he goes to the Jets. And that's crazy to say for a rookie, but you look at their depth chart, and it is bad. It is so bad. Greg Newsome is very, very solid and definitely a big-time upgrade. As we get to the Steelers at 24, I'm going interior offensive line, and that's Landon Dickerson, maybe the best center in the class. For a team that desperately needs to replace Maurkice Pouncey, Dickerson just seems like a really good fit. Now, I know everyone wants running back there, but they can't take a running back there. They really can't, man. Take a running back in round 2. Trade up if you have to, but do not go running back in the first round when you have such big positions in need. I can see this being a tackle very easily as well. As we get to the Jaguars at 25. This one was a tough one until you see that Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is still available, still on the board, and that is a big-time upgrade at linebacker. The Jaguars love speed at linebacker, and this is a player that is much, 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 much better in coverage than Joe Schobert, and it would be a really good weak side linebacker for them. I think this is just a natural fit for a player who honestly has no business falling to 25, but it's just the way the board worked out, man. I think if the Dolphins went Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah here, or the Raiders go Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, that's kind of where I see those guys potentially going as well. Well, maybe Micah Parsons even falls to 25, which would be super interesting. As we get to the Browns at 26, I told you this guy would fall. I still think there's a really good chance he does fall, and that is Jalen Phillips. He is my edge one in the class, but based on his injury history and already retiring from football once, Jalen Phillips is a bit of a gamble. He has some red flags, but he's a really good player to position of need for Cleveland, and he would fit the scheme so well. He is still edge one in the class for me. His ability is unbelievable. I think probably a pretty safe top 15 player in the draft, but his off-the-field question marks and injury question marks are super, super big. As we get to the Ravens, we're going Azeez Ojulari, best 3-4 outside linebacker available, maybe. And that's pretty much as simple as that. They lost Yannick Ngakoue. They lost Matt Judon. You need help on the edge, and Azeez Ojulari could be immediate help on the edge. You go wide receiver in round 2. Saints at 28, best player available, and that happens to be Kwity Paye. Kwity Paye is your Trey Hendrickson replacement. He's a really good scheme fit as well. I think this is exceptional value for the Saints. There are a bunch of really good players in this class, man. There are a bunch of guys who belong going in the first round that won't, and I think Kwity Paye is a guy who could go as high as like number 10 in the draft, somewhere around then, but he falls to 28, just kind of the way she goes when it's such a talented class and teams have so many different unique positions in need this year, as they always seem to. As we get to the Packers at 29, I want to go receiver here. I really do, but there's still a bunch of really good receivers available. I'm not going to force my hand with one of them. I'm going to go Kelvin Joseph. I think he's a great scheme fit. He's a great option on the boundary on the other side of Jair Alexander. He's adept in zone coverage, and that should play in Green Bay. Really, really good fit for a team that needs corner really, really badly. And now we have the Bills at 30. I've been going back and forth in this one for a while as well, trying to figure out what the Bills should do. But I actually like the Najee Harris idea here. It's the end of the first round. You're a really, really talented team already that's just kind of missing that big-time running back. Najee Harris, I think, would be a great complementary back to Devin Singletary. He can get the hard, tough yards for you, but he also gives you that receiving component out of the backfield as well. I think Najee Harris is such an unbelievable fit for Buffalo, and that could be the missing piece to their offense. They brought in Emmanuel Sanders. We know they have Stephon Diggs. They have Cole Beasley, who's one of the most underrated slot guys in the league. They have Gabriel Davis, who played really well last year. They brought back their offensive line and John Feliciano and Darrell Williams on that right side, who were free agents. The Bills just kept their pieces except for John Brown, which I think is a big loss for that offense. But they got Emmanuel Sanders, who could maybe be an upgrade in some ways, although he's not going to be able to stretch the field and stretch out the defense the same way. But Najee Harris, to me, is maybe just the best player available for Buffalo. Defense certainly in play here, but I think Najee's also in play as well. As we get to the Chiefs, and I'm going offensive tackle, depending on which one you want, it is a bit of a coin flip here. I think, like, a lot of these guys could go in the first round. Like, Spencer Brown, honestly, up to Liam Eichenberg, could be first-round guys. Even Walker Little, maybe. Brady Christensen has tested so unbelievably well as an athlete. It is ridiculous. Spencer Brown tested pretty well as well. And athleticism is highly coveted. Brady Christensen, believe it or not, is one of the most athletic offensive linemen ever via the relative athletic scores that were put out by MathBomb. If you guys want to check him out on Twitter, it's a great follow. Tests height, weight, speed, agility scores, strength to every single prospect of that position from 1987 to now. And Brady Christensen is like number 2 all time. It is ridiculous. So he's a guy that could end up going first round. And the Chiefs really need offensive line. I am going to go Dylan Radunz here. He was just so great at North Dakota State for a number of years. He is a really solid upgrade on the offensive line. No Mitchell Schwartz there anymore. No Eric Fisher. You need tackle. Radunz is the guy. Then we get to the Bucks at 32. They're in a great position. So many amazing players available. Really, really good options. I think Trayvon Merrick would be a solid pick here. He falls out of the first round in this scenario. There are a lot of really, really good players available. Like maybe like the athleticism of Jason Owe. Maybe you want to go running back even. Like Rojo's okay, but maybe Travis Etienne you like better. Maybe Javonte Williams you like better. Maybe you take a linebacker. Levante David's not going to be around forever, even though you re-signed him. Nick Bolton, Zaven Collins. I mean, Jamin Davis is very good as well. Baron Browning's been getting a lot of hype lately. Jabril Cox is a great player. I love Cameron McGrone. Pete Warner and Chaz Surratt are good too. I mean, Pete Warner's a great athlete as well. The Bucs really have a situation where the world is their oyster. They won the Super Bowl. So many tremendous players are available. I am going to go Kadarius Toney, though. Keep him in state. Fairly local, I guess you could say. Just an hour or two away probably from Gainesville is Tampa, Florida. And with potentially losing Antonio Brown, with Chris Godwin playing under the franchise tag, receiver is a big position of need, and the amount of ways that the Bucs could utilize Kadarius Toney, even out of the backfield. You don't have to feel forced to take a running back here. You can have Rojo and then work Kadarius Toney as a running back in certain scenarios. So I think the Bucs are in a tremendous position to take a star player. So many of these teams are. This is a loaded draft class, but that is my mock draft. I'm stoked that my back was able to get through this video. But let me know what you think down in the comment section below. I'm sure you guys hate it as usual. Can't ever make anyone happy with a mock draft. But that is going to be the video. Hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed already. And I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.
Insane, I hit it at the park, bend bones. See me high step to the end zone. My life like a game, Nintendo. Playing with the best, let them know. Get off the track, the train's coming through. Yeah, promise you get in my way, then you best believe I'ma just run over you. Yeah, yeah. Papa turn taking it back to the house. Defensive joke, I'm laughing so loud. Speed burst good.